I think I'm pretty lucky that like my intelligence level isn't super high.
A lot of the agents that we try to bring on here, one of the main things that I focus on is to get someone who is successful, but also got to the place where they are in their own way, in their own skin, in a very unique manner.
And just don't waste your money on things that you think you need to fit in with real estate agents.
Yeah.
It's going to be controversial, but I couldn't want to fit in with real estate agents less.
And you mentioned your struggles with addiction and drugs and alcohol and stuff. Was that still happening while you were like well into your professional career?
I was 28 before I stopped. I'm only 32 now.
Welcome everyone to episode number 4 of the Just List podcast. Today, we have someone very, very special on the podcast today. So a lot of the agents that we try to bring on here, one of the main things that I focus on is to get someone who is successful, but also got to the place where they are in their own way, in their own skin, in a very unique manner. And I think this guy personifies that. He is extremely unique. The way he came up to where he is now is frankly something I don't see much of in the real estate industry. And so I've been wanting to have a chat to this guy for a very, very long time. And I finally managed to chase him down. And here he is, Mr. Anthony Black from Black Property Group.
Here I am.
Welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me on. Hopefully I don't look too chilled in the couch here.
Well, that's the vibe.
I feel like but I feel like I'm way too chilled. Like I had too many gummies or something before, so.
You're just the right amount of chill, so we're good to go.
Sweet.
But, bro, new office. So for those of you who don't know, we came in and I met you a couple weeks ago, and you pretty much just moved into this office. So, yeah, tell me about the space. It's pretty massive. Why this place?
Mate, as the kids would say, new office, new vibes. We had an office 3-4 doors down. It was 87 square meters, and it was great for the team that I had at the time. And I got a few people that I look to in the industry that I'm like, I look at as, I watch what they're doing. I'm like, okay, that's probably a good idea. I want to go down that avenue. And
right.
I was like, all right, maybe growth is a good idea for me. So I started to recruit a little bit, and very quickly there was 12 of us down in that office, and it didn't work.
Right. Too small?
Way too small. Like we were crammed in like sardines. So it's 87 square meters. To give you an idea, this is 444.
Right.
So I sort of took it to a view with, okay, what does the next 3 to 5 years look like? And it looks like growth where it can be accommodated here.
Yeah.
Over there, it was probably, we should have moved maybe 2 or 3 staff members ago. But I was like taking that financial
hesitant.
I was just like but funny story though, this office, when I was moving into that one, because we were in my house before this, right?
Yep.
And when we were looking at that one, I looked at this one and we were like, oh, imagine if we ever got this. And I actually inquired on it at the time.
Right.
And they said a price to me, and I was like, how could anyone ever afford that? But it was still on the market when I sort of came around to it, and I was like, well, I had my eye on it for the whole time, and then I got back from America and met with a guy that I'm pretty good friends with now, and he's like, just do it. And I started talking to the agent here in April and sort of kept it along, and I said, if I still need this space by the time my lease ends here, because I only had a 1-year lease in the other one, I'm like, I'm probably going to be your guy. If you get rid of it in the meantime, good for you. And it was available, and I was just like,
It was meant to be.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a lot of fun.
Awesome. And what do you think, that was very interesting that you said about the guy you spoke to that sort of convinced you to take the leap into this place.
Yeah.
What exactly did he say to you?
He's just like, you're on a growth path right now. He's like, you want to grow your business. Just take the punt.
Right.
And I probably referred to myself as a bit of a safety Sam, right? We started at my house because it's kind of like, maybe I'm not as confident in my abilities as I should be, or maybe I'm just safe, or I don't really know. Like, I like risk, but I don't like to go balls to the wall. Well, I'm sure some people would think it's balls to the wall, and some people would be like, nah, you're being a pussy. Everyone's different. So, but I'm like, I need to know that I can very comfortably cover whatever it is that's going to come my way as a just in case.
Yeah.
Very,
no, I feel you. I'm the same way, yeah. You're taking that gap and knowing it's not even just you'll be fine jumping now, but then like will I be able to will there ever be a situation where I'll have to go back from this in the future? It's just like a big thing.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So just making sure like I'm covered, and I think as we grew, it's not only just me anymore.
Yeah.
Like it's not just what if I go broke? It's you know, if something happened to the business, then something happens to all these people. You know what I mean? So there's a lot more thought that comes into it, but the pros far outweigh the cons, and I was like, whatever, let's do it.
Yeah, and this place is awesome, and it's not even ready yet, so I'm keen to see the full office walkthrough tour, which I'm sure you guys will do as soon as it's like properly done up.
Yeah.
But it's been just going over your track record, bro. It's genuinely been like a pretty big journey for you all the way into this new office. But even before your real estate journey, you had a possibly an even bigger journey, which is that you moved here from England when you were about 15.
Yeah.
So what was that like with the whole movement? What was England like actually? What was your life like there?
Wet, cold. It's funny. My sister moved back to England to be closer to family and things like that. But to me, and I know people from England are going to be watching this, but I just couldn't think of a place that I would want to be less than back where I grew up.
Right.
Not because of anything other than it's just miserable.
Yeah.
Right? Like the day I landed here, like blue skies, sun, I'm like, this is home.
Yeah.
Right? Like I never for 1 second had a difficult time with the move. Even at 15, which everyone's like, always says to me like, oh, that age must have been super hard. Like I got off the plane and I was like, I'm in Australia. Like, you know what I mean? Like how could I be mad about this? It's hot. It's just, I love it. Right.
Yeah.
So I was like an Aussie day one. I like started losing my accent. Like I'm like, yeah, let's go. Like integrate me. Like Steve Irwin me, R.I.P. You know, like, yeah, I was ready for it. Like it was a difficult time, I guess, coming in and making friends, but I do that relatively easy. Like I played a lot of sports as a kid, so like you make a lot of friends through sport and all that kind of stuff. So it was a fun journey. I think that type of stuff prepares you for.
Were you like? Did you have a lot of warning before you moved, or because how was life at St. Margaret's and stuff before you moved down?
I can't remember. My dad was just like, hey, we were always talking about like moving to Canada because my dad worked in pharmaceuticals. So he was getting a job transfer. I think it was Canada and then like New Jersey and then Australia originally. And then it just ended up straight to Australia. And basically we had like a little family meeting. He's like, hey, what do you guys think about it? I'm like, I'll go pack my bag. Like,
you were ready.
Let's go. Yeah. Like I had really good friends there and I loved it there, but I was just like, that sounds way better.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess you were a lot older because I did a similar move where I used to live in Ireland before I moved here.
Yeah.
So similar weather. Everything's cold, everything's rainy, everything's miserable. But I had no idea what Australia was when I moved here.
Right.
So did you have any like preconceived notions of Australia?
Yeah, so I thought I was going to move over here, have a beach buggy and a dog and like live on the beach. Like I thought my house was basically the back door was going to be like the beach.
Right.
Right, so I was very naive. I obviously didn't understand money very well at 15. But I was like, yeah, sweet. And I'll just get my dad to buy me a beach buggy and I'll drive that up and down the beach and I'll have a dog. It's kind of shit that I was saying to my mum and dad and they just would have been looking at me like, you fucking idiot.
But did you end up like coming straight to Brisbane? Was that the first place?
Yep. My dad lived in Kangaroo Point for like 6 weeks before we moved over. And we just landed in North Lakes.
North Lakes?
Yeah, that's where everyone was like back then.
Yeah, there was nothing there back then.
Yeah, so back then it was like people, it was like majority English and South African there. It was a lot smaller when I first got there. Yeah. There was like, Westfield was like one strip and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, that was 2007. So the estate was still a decent size, but
there was no Mango Hill or anything, was there? I mean, it existed.
There was no Cape Stone. There was a Halpine Lakes area, which is, but again, that's a tiny part of it, as opposed to Cape Stone now.
Yeah, Cape was huge. Yeah.
None of that really was around. So
right.
Yeah, it's crazy. It was completely different.
Right. And when you made that move here, and I'm sure like as a 15-year-old, you know, you had your beach buggy dreams and life was just looking pretty bright just moving down here. When did you start, you know, as you're completing high school, when did you start thinking like, all right, what am I meant to do with my life? And did you have any, was real estate like an obvious choice for you?
I hated every second of school.
Yeah.
Real estate was not an obvious choice to me. I fell into real estate through like other sales jobs that I was working, and my first job out of school, I removed insulation.
Mm-hmm.
My job after that, I was a plumbing hardware delivery driver.
Yeah.
That was around the GFC, which again, another thing I just didn't understand.
Yeah,
but I couldn't get a plumbing apprenticeship.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, this sucks. Then I dropped out of that, went to uni for like 2 years.
Oh, what did you study?
I did engineering for a little bit. Then I did like financial planning, something. I can't remember what it was. And
Right.
so I remember sitting there in class one day. I was working like multiple jobs. I was a waiter. I worked at a clothing store, and I used to help my mate's dad. He has a boiler making business. I just used to go and just get some cash wherever I could.
Right.
And I was just listening to this dude talk, and I'm like, why the fuck am I here?
Right.
Talking about managing corporations and stuff. I'm like,
falling asleep.
why? So I just sort of fizzled out of that. And then I was waiting a table of 3 dudes, and they offered me a job. So I went and got a job with them selling cranes.
Yeah, 600 cranes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So selling cranes, and then I did something pretty dumb. I lost my driver's license speeding, and so I didn't have a driver's license for 6 months.
Right.
And so, but in the meantime, I picked up another job selling like treadmills and stuff over the phone.
Mm-hmm.
I just used to do that at night.
Right.
For like a bit of extra.
Just a pure
income
sales
on the
job?
side. Pure sales, pure commission only, just after work.
Mm-hmm.
I used to do it. And then that sort of led me down the sales training route,
Right.
which led me into real estate.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so
it's like kind of intertwined and kind of completely not. Like I never once before I got into real estate thought I'll be a real estate agent.
right.
It was Grant Cardone. He did this, he was talking about real estate shit, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll just do my real estate license. Literally the next day, I did it, and I told my mate's mum, and she's like, oh, I know a guy. So from the day that I said, I'll do my real estate license, I had a real estate job within 3 days.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, how long did it take? So you just listened to Grant Cardone.
Listened to Grant Cardone, I'm like, oh, real estate sounds good.
Uh-huh.
Researched how to do my certificate, did my certificate. The next day, I told my mate's mum,
Right.
I'm going to get into real estate. And she said, oh, I know this guy. And I called him that day. He's like, yeah, come in tomorrow for an interview.
Yeah, right.
He stood there and shook my hand, and he's like, all right, do you want to start Monday?
Oh, wow.
Like, it was that quick.
How did that feel?
At the time, I was like, this guy was telling me, like, I could make like $1 million in a year. I was in a year. He's like, yeah. I'm like, what? So I'm like, yeah. I didn't have a driver's license, by the way, still. When I first got
so it
into
was
real
within
estate.
that 6 month period.
Yeah, still. Like, this is all very close together this time.
And when was this? This was like
2015.
Right, 2015.
So, yeah. So, and this guy's like, yeah, like you make $1 million in your first year if you do. And like, he knew I didn't have a driver's license, and I think back to it now, I'm like, he's just lying. But anyway, like, it's just like he's just trying to,
You just needed someone really badly.
Yeah, but then I actually got fired in my first 3 months for lack of performance, right?
Right.
So this is where my whole business goes back to now. But I was never a smart kid. I couldn't pick things up super quick, but I would persist longer than most people, right? So,
but from what you just said, though, just really quickly, I know you said you don't pick things up really quickly, but you seem to make decisions pretty quickly. Because most people, if they see a Grant Cardone video, they will probably watch another 25 Grant Cardone videos before they even decide if they like him. And they're like, oh, they spend weeks mulling around saying, is real estate the right industry? Is this the way I go? But it sounds like you just saw it, liked it, and just went for it straight away.
Yeah.
Is that usually how you approach things?
I think I'm pretty lucky that like my intelligence level isn't super high.
What a thing to say.
I think I'm like pretty street smart, but I'm not like a super smart person. So I'm not like, I don't sit there and like overanalyze stuff. I'm like, seems like a pretty good idea.
Right.
Like if it's a financial decision, it's like, do I think I can afford it? I don't think about like all the stuff that could go wrong and sit there and dwell on it. I'm like,
okay.
if I do it, am I going to go completely broke, or is it just going to slightly set me back?
Right.
And if it's just going to slightly set me back, like do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't really think about, I guess, the consequences of my actions too often and sit there and dwell on it.
Right.
I think about the benefits if it goes right, and if the negative is like, it's not going to completely screw me, like I don't really think about it too much.
Okay.
So I think I'm pretty lucky there, because I know a lot of people dwell on a lot more stuff.
And would you say overall in life, that sort of attitude has served you well?
Yeah, I'm impulsive, but I can like control that impulsiveness as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm quite quick to act.
Right.
But I'm not like an angry, impulsive person type thing. Do you know what I mean?
So you can like switch it off when it comes to
like, you know, the
things.
way like people write like big angry emails and send it and they're like, oh shit, I shouldn't have sent that.
Yeah.
Like I don't do that stuff.
Right.
But when it comes to doing stuff, like if I haven't done it within a minute or two of making the decision, I probably won't. Like I don't, if I put shoes in like a cart online, I'm not going to buy them.
Right.
But like I accidentally buy things on Instagram all the time.
You just go for it.
3 clicks and you bought it and you're like, didn't need that.
Yeah.
You know, like that's,
Right.
but that's how I make a lot of big decisions even.
Have you ever regretted anything like that?
Nah, I don't have a good enough memory to regret too much, to be honest. Like, I forget half the stuff that I do that's dumb or bad.
I feel you, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm pretty lucky with that kind of stuff.
For sure. So even was that just always you? Even back when you were in high school, back when you were in like St. Margaret's in the UK, like.
Yeah, like I kind of just did what I thought was. I kind of just did what I wanted to do. Like, you know, my mum's got this funny story that she loves to tell of, there was like one day that I used to get in a lot of trouble at school, but there was this one specific day I got like an inter-school suspension, and I took a hammer and a nail into school, because back to, you know, England's always wet and miserable. And I didn't like having my bag and my we used to have to wear like a blazer, like a jacket.
Yeah.
I didn't like leaving it on the floor while I played football. So I took this hammer and nail in, and I nail a nail into the tree so I could hang my bag and jacket up.
Right.
But I got in a lot of trouble for it, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, why would you do that? I'm like, because I didn't want my shit to get ruined.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't I do that?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's a small one, but it's kind of just like, if I think it makes sense, I'm probably just going to do it. And I... Like, again, I look at things like, is this going to hurt anybody by me doing it? No. Does it really make a difference in anyone else's life? No. Is it against the rules? Sometimes. But if it doesn't make a difference to anyone else and it's not hurting anyone, who cares?
Yeah.
That's kind of how I make decisions, right?
Yeah.
Is this going to hurt anybody? Is it going to make anybody else lose their money or make them upset or anything like that? And if the fact is no, who cares?
Yeah.
It's me. Like, so.
Fuck yeah.
I know that's probably just, I just chatted shit, but.
No,
like,
that's legitimately a thing.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, like I know that you say that you're not like super planned and everything like that, but just having that framework in your head, even if it's like running subconsciously, is like stuff that a lot of people don't have, because people just don't know what they should be thinking about when making a decision.
Yeah.
So, but that's something like I 100% relate to, and like for people watching, that's something I feel like a lot of people will find very easy, because a lot of times I feel like you may relate to this as well, where like some people, they just want someone else to tell them that it's okay to go for it.
Yeah.
When it comes to career or whatever it is. So you would probably be that someone for someone watching, because we get a lot of like aspirational real estate agents checking this kind of stuff out.
Yeah.
So yeah, 100%. I think that's one of the things that you can really get inspired by and use.
Just gotta go for it. I think the biggest thing that I see with like new guys to the industry is they sometimes go to the wrong place and they don't get taught the right way. And exactly what happens to me happens to them, right? Like they, like I said, I got let go in my first 3 months for lack of performance. but I also wasn't shown by anyone what to do.
Right.
So it's kind of like, well, how am I expected to perform?
What was that like first 3 months like? What did you end
It
up
was
doing?
a lot of calls, and I had a couple of like listings, I guess, there that could have been converted.
Mm-hmm.
But I had no clue how to do a listing presentation.
Right.
I had no clue how to sign a Form 6. Like, I
Right.
genuinely had no clue. So after that 3 months, there was a guy in the office. It's like, why are you getting rid of him? Because I was there, like, first there, last to leave, like your old typical story. I'd make the most calls and all that kind of stuff. He's like, he's a hard worker. He just doesn't understand this part yet.
Right.
He took me on, converted 3 of my listings immediately. So the business immediately got 3 new listings. Just from someone taking the reins and showing me what to do. So I then worked with him for like 18 months or something like that. But I was at like 23, my maturity level was like 18.
Yeah.
At 28, my maturity level was like 20. But then I stopped drinking and all that kind of stuff at 28. My maturity level went to like 26.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it's still not where it should be.
Yeah.
But it was up.
Yeah, but that's good. It served you well so far, I think. I think it's done well.
Yeah.
But just because I had a quick look at your, sort of history of where you've been working, and would like to do a little research on the show.
Sure.
I think I can just tell that you've always wanted to eventually just be your own boss. You wanted to have your own thing, because I think you were first at Remax, then you went to Harcourts, and you went to Ray White, and then most recently you were at Mahoney & Co. And then you started Black Property Group. So walk me through that. You've had a fair few jumps, which is not something we see way too much in the real estate industry. So why'd you jump so much?
So at Remax, I was under a guy that I was learning through. And quite frankly, at that business, I didn't really want to be an agent there. I liked the guy I was working with, but when it came time I wanted to do my own thing, I didn't want to do it there.
Yeah.
So I then went out as a day one com-only salesperson at Harcourts. And I worked there, but I probably just worked myself into a hole. So I was just like, I did the typical real estate burnout, work too much. Like, because when you go commission only, your options are you either succeed or you don't, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't have a lot of money backing me or anything like that. So it's kind of just like, all right, well, this is it. So I did it for like a year and a half, got to the end, and I was just tired. And I needed like a break. So then I went into Ray White and I joined a team. So what I learned there was, okay, I know how to be a real estate agent. I can list and sell property. That's fine. I'm like, if I go and join a team, I get probably a bit of a rest, right? Like, it's going to be easier. Let's be honest. But I got massive deal exposure there. So, I'd gone from doing not many, like 20 odd deals, 25 deals or something like that, to working in a team where we were doing close to 100. Right? So I was getting 4 or 5 years worth of deals in a year.
Right.
So access to different scenarios, different things happening, like the stuff that you don't really get to understand when you're just doing a few deals. A wide variety of people, different clauses to save you in different situations, or whatever it is, just understanding different deals. So that helped me a lot for that time. And then when my mate Liam was like, I'm opening my own business, I was like, sweet, I'm done here anyway. I'll jump out. And then that led me into here. Right.
So is this just you, or is this with your friend as well at this point?
This one, Black?
Yeah.
Just me.
Black is just you. So
when I started Black, it's Tom and Murray came with me. And like without those two.
From Ray White?
No,
from
Mahoney? Yeah, so Tom is my mate's brother. And he'd been messaging me a few times over the years saying he wants to get into real estate. And COVID kind of just, it did it for him. He was an electrician before. He's like, I want to do it. I'm like, can't afford to pay you, bro. Like COVID and all this kind of shit. Like, I don't know what we're going to do. He's like, no, I'll just come in and work for free to see if I like it. And like, I think within his first 5 phone calls, he got a listing. I'm like,
Whoa.
this is going to be the job for you.
Right.
You know, like, and he's been with me ever since. And then Mars, I worked with at Ray White. He got pretty sick and tired of it. And he's like, I'm going to get out of real estate. And I was like, nah, don't do that. And then, so all of a sudden I've gone from being an agent to now having a 3-person team.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know how to run a team.
Right.
Yeah, all this kind of stuff. And then, so I was like, all right, let's do our own thing. Because we were based, like, Marnie & Co. was based in Hendra. And we were working, like, Petrie, North Lakes. There was dead set nights that I was just sleeping in the office in Hendra. Because I'm like, I can't be bothered driving 45 minutes home and then 45 minutes back in the morning. So I just literally, I had like a little toothbrush and shit that I would just sleep there. And then I'd go home and shower before my appointment. Like, just because I couldn't be bothered, right? Like, I was just like, and then, so I was like, all right, let's do our own thing. And we did. And we moved into a little back room in Murray's mum. She's got a daycare. So we all had to get our blue cards. And we just all worked out of a back room.
Right, just to be allowed into the back room.
Just to be allowed into the back room.
Oh, bad.
So we worked there while I was building my house. Then we moved into my house. So, but yeah, like on paper, it's just my business. But the boys, like, I couldn't have built it without them two to start with. You know, like they were workhorses. Well, like, we were all workhorses, but they were just workhorses the whole time. So,
and that's a blessing in itself, man. But even if we just take a few steps back and look at where you were at Harcourts and what you were doing at Ray White, even at Harcourts, you know, at Ray White, you were part of a team, right?
Yeah.
And you were doing over 100 listings annually.
Yeah.
And even at Harcourts, you were doing about 20 listings by yourself. That in itself is just a higher success rate than most agents out there. So clearly you've went to a point where you had no idea what you were doing at your first job in the first 3 months to just developing yourself as an individual agent. What do you think you learned to go from, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, to now being like, I can confidently sell like 20 properties a year?
I've learned many different things at different places, and that's probably why I'm thankful that I did move around. I take in a lot of what I want to do, but also a lot of what I don't want to do.
Okay.
But, you know, when I was at Harcourts, I used their training. Like, I used and abused it. Their chief auctioneer there at the time, who just left before I left, he had a listing presentation, a video listing presentation that I downloaded, ripped the audio, and I listened to on iTunes. It was like an hour and 15 minutes. I listened to that thing 180 times, just on repeat. And I watched the video, and I hand wrote the video on how to do a listing presentation. Because remember, just when I was at Remax to Harcourt, I was still just a PA at Remax, so I wasn't doing listing presentations. So I went commission only, and I had to start practicing. So I needed to ingrain it. So I wrote it out word for word. I would play, stop, write, play, stop, write. So I just needed to know it. So at first I was so robotic until I made it a part of me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It just became part of your system.
Just became part of me. I'd practice it every day.
Right.
Practice it on myself. I'd record myself doing it. I'd just write it down. Because I was like, if I don't, what are my options?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. So do you think that is what made the biggest change?
That was like my determination. I think the biggest change was, the biggest change in my career was me giving up drugs and alcohol. That was the biggest change in my career, right? Because I learned a lot over those years, but I didn't have my brain to put it to full use. But the biggest change after that was being myself.
Right. Okay.
Was being 100% authentic.
And that's what made you go from that 0 to then start getting your first, second, third, fifth, 10th, 20th listing a year.
Yeah, it was just, I need to stop being so robotic. Like, it was great to learn, but it was learning the rest of it properly.
Right. So it's sort of one of those things where once you've learned it, throw away the manual and do it your way.
Yeah. learn it, ingrain it, like make sure you know it, and then make it yours.
Right.
Just rip it off.
Yeah, cool. So, and you mentioned your struggles with addiction and drugs and alcohol and stuff. Was that still happening while you were like well into your professional career?
I was 28 before I stopped. I'm only 32 now.
Right.
So,
this was like
so yeah,
fairly
well
recent.
into, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And so, did it only become obvious that it was a problem once it started affecting your professional life?
It didn't so much affect my professional life, but the work I was willing to put in was limited by the fact that I wanted to go and drink and party.
Right.
You know, like I didn't really want to do appointments after 5 p.m. because like that was when I would want to be drinking, you know, on any given day. But I didn't want to put the effort in. I would wake up every morning on the back foot, anxious, hungover, whatever it is. So you're not ready to put in straight away. You're 11 o'clock before you kick into gear, you know, whereas now I wake up at 4:30 every day. I go to the gym by 5, like I'm in work by 7:30, and I'm always ready.
Yeah.
But there's never that cloudiness in my brain. I mean, I say never, like there's days, but
of course.
it's rare that there's a
Right.
cloudiness in my brain. I'm always fresh, I'm always exercised. The days don't feel as long, you know, things just flow a lot easier. It was since then. I almost felt like I was on like Limitless, you know that movie?
Yeah.
Like I was like, why
Bradley
is my
Cooper,
brain accessing all this information? But once I stopped drinking and stuff, like I felt like everything that I knew just became clear. Before it was kind of like, yeah, I think I could give 30, 40% of my knowledge. Once I stopped, I was like, oh, I've got so much more knowledge and so much more of myself to be able to give.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's sick. And it's not an easy thing to quit. And it's not an easy thing to give up. So was there anything very specific that happened where you thought, like, all right, that's it. We gotta get a hold of this.
Yeah, massive bender. Like it was like a 4-day bender, big Anzac Day weekend.
Yeah.
It was like Thursday to Monday. We had the days off, and I just went for it. And I just remember, I think it was like 8:30 on the day, maybe the Tuesday or it was the 27th. So whatever day that ended up being. And I just remember looking at myself in the mirror like I was grey. And like I had big bags under my eyes. I hadn't slept for like 3 days. And I was like, I got to have a break. That was what it was like, I refer to it as this scene in a movie. You know the scene in the movie when like the dudes hit rock bottom? That was me looking at myself in the mirror. I was like, fuck, I got to give this a break.
Yeah.
So at first it was only going to be 30 days. But then I saw how much better I got in the 30 days. What happened was the first 30 days, I decided to buy a new car. And I'd never I'd never had a loan for a car at this stage. So I was like, right, I'm going to do that. And then the next 30 days, I was like, all right, I'll give myself one opportunity to go and like get on the piss. But I didn't take it. I was just like, whatever, because I think that month I put a deposit on a block of land.
Right.
And I'm like, all right, this is going pretty well. Like month 1 got rewarded, month 2 got rewarded. Month 3, I'd had like my biggest listing month. I think I listed 7. Right, so I was like, okay, that's pretty decent. So now I'm 90 days in. I've got the car, the block of land, just listed 7. I was like, how about this? Let's just give yourself the opportunity to go drink whenever you want, whatever, no more restrictions. And I just never
drank.
had another interest. No, like didn't want to drink again, had no interest in doing any more drugs. Like it just wasn't. I was just like, I'm happy doing what I'm doing. And things just continued to get better and better and better. So I was like, why would I?
Yeah.
And now I'm so far in that I'm like, I attach all my success to that.
Yeah.
Right? But also now the way that I view drinking now is just like, I'm all for it with other people. Like my fiance drinks and stuff, like not a lot, but she drinks, you know, all that kind of stuff. I'm not one of those people that doesn't drink but hates everyone that does. Like I'm all for it. But for me, the way I view it is, if I'm not going to get drunk, then what's the point in drinking? And I've got no interest in getting drunk, but like, I personally don't see the point in one or two.
Yeah.
Right? Why can't I just drink a sparkling water?
Yeah.
Like, I don't need one or two.
Yeah.
Realistically, if you look at it, like, alcohol's technically poison. And I'm not hating on the people that drink, right? Please don't think that. But you're just poisoning yourself for the sake of being social.
Yeah.
Just have a sparkling water. Go home at 10. You know what I mean? Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Nothing good happens. And no one will even remember, right? I leave. Everyone's like, oh, when'd you go? I'm like 12 o'clock. You guys are fucking dancing on tables.
Yeah.
No one knows.
Yeah.
So, but I live the same life, except it's just way more, like, for me, it's just way more free. I don't have hangovers every morning, all that kind of stuff.
Awesome. So. That's awesome, man. That's super commendable too, because I know a lot of people who are trying to quit, or a lot of people who have been through phases where it was like seriously becoming a problem for them.
Yeah.
And it's not easy. It's not easy to quit as well. So for the people that are finding it hard, what would you tell them?
It's hard because everyone's on a different journey, right? Like
What helped you at least?
Running,
so exercise.
I just ran. I just started running, and
What, you got cravings, or just part of your routine?
I just started running. I was like, every night I would usually sit there and sink piss all night and see what kind of like drugs I could find in my drawer to take. But then once that was over, it's like, well, what else am I going to do at 6 p.m.? I just go for a run.
Right.
And then I'd come home and I'd eat dinner and I was fucked. So I would like then just go to bed.
Yeah.
But I realized quickly that I had a bigger purpose than like drinking every night. You know what I mean? Like for me, I was like, all right, I don't need to. A lot of the time, and I see a lot of people now, like they'll stop drinking for 30 days and all they think about for that 30 days is like, can't wait till the 30 days is over so I can have a drink.
Yeah.
Right? Like, whereas I think at the time I needed the break so bad, which is what I do in life, by the way. I push myself to the absolute limit, right? And then it's just like, I don't want that anymore.
Yeah.
So what would I tell someone else? Like, find another thing to do if you can. Like just to replace it.
Yeah.
Just to focus your attention on. I get addicted to a lot of shit. Like, I've been a smoker, you know what I mean? Like, I've been addicted to so much stuff. It's just a thing that happens to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But also, when I want to stop things, I stop them.
You can.
But I tried to quit smoking so many times before I actually did.
What changed that time?
I just didn't want to anymore.
Right.
Like, there was so many times that I was like, I want to quit smoking, and I'd quit for a little bit, and then I'd start again. But then I was like, I'm just not going to smoke anymore.
Right.
And I just never did.
Okay.
So I don't know specifically what it is in my brain.
But your identity shifted. Like, you're not a smoker anymore.
Correct. Right. Yeah, I'm no longer a smoker, no longer a drinker, no longer take drugs. So most of the harmful habits are gone.
Yeah. Awesome. And this is around about the time that you went out and started Black Property, right?
Well, smoking I stopped when I was like 21.
No, like drinking and stuff.
Oh,
the
drinking
big
and
one,
stuff. Yeah. So I stopped drinking in April 2020, and I started Black in January 21.
Yeah. So like 6-7 months later.
Correct. Not long after at all.
Yeah, that's insane. And we right now live in a country where in every suburb there is like 5 to like 20 little like boutique real estate agencies, big franchises. So as someone who's seen success in real estate, like, it must be pretty daunting to just look at the prospect of being another real estate agency in the market, and you kind of have to wrestle with yourself on what is the relevance of that. So what sort of gave you the courage to be like, no, I think going out on my own and creating another agency is what's going to make the difference in your career as well as for the people you're helping?
We wanted to be different. Tom and Murray were young, and I had the ambition to do it we had the opportunity to do it, like the platform to do it. And like the way we make a lot of decisions, we were just sitting there one night and we were like, should I just start? Should I just open it? And they were like, fuck yeah, let's do it.
Right.
You know, like that was it. And then it was done.
Right.
Like we just made the decision there and then.
Yeah.
That we were going to do it for ourselves and get the benefit directly to sort of us. Because, you know, like they backed me 100% the same way I backed them. And they were like, and you know, because you have the chats like, hey, we're going to do it. Let's do it. Let's start the conversations. And I was just like, hey, like, you know, this isn't a sure thing. Like it's probable if we work hard, but it's not a sure thing. And they're like, so who cares? Let's just see what happens, you know? And that was it.
Do you think those guys, like being with those guys, was probably one of the biggest things that made this whole thing happen? Is just having that team.
Yeah, I put a lot of emphasis on the fact that without them, I probably just would have stayed a real estate agent. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but having them there really helped me develop my skills, helped me become, not really a manager, but like helping them understand real estate was like, it became a big passion.
Yeah.
A huge passion.
So helping other people understand real estate became a huge passion.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
But what is funny about that, I found a document that I did in 2018 about how when I said when I'm 30, I want to have my own office. And I want to have this thing where I bring agents and show them how to be real estate agents.
Right.
Instead of just, here's a desk, here's a phone, right? And I found this after I was already and I was like, holy shit, like, that was never like a goal that I wrote down every year, but it was just something I had in my head.
In your head, yeah.
And I was like, I still am today who I wanted to be back then.
Yeah.
Probably a very different version, but it was just so crazy to see. I also had on there that I wanted to own 10 investment properties and all this other bullshit. But that thing on there was like, I was like, oh, like this is something that I am actually passionate about.
Yeah.
I think a lot of good people leave this industry because of lack of good leadership.
Yeah, 100%. Even I've seen it personally.
Yeah.
Like people who they've got the right idea about things, but then they just get no guidance, and then that first like 6 to 12 months really just like beats them up.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that think they should be good at the job that aren't, but then I think there's a lot of people that are genuinely good at the job that don't get shown how to do it properly, so they don't get the opportunity to show whether they're good or not, because maybe they're in late and they need to make money for the family, and like unless you can get, I mean, outside of the outliers, unless you can give real estate a crack for like 6, 12, 24 months, depending on what kind of person you are, like it's hard.
Yeah.
Because there are people that make good money in their first year, but there's a lot more people that don't. There's a lot of successful people that didn't have a great first year than successful people that
Who did have a first year.
And I think the successful people that have, the people that have a great first year, a lot of the time only last 3 or 4 years, because then it gets hard and they're like, shit, why is this hard?
Yeah.
It wasn't hard. It didn't used to be hard.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it anymore. you
Right,
know?
yeah.
So, again, like that's a generalization, but if you take offense to it, then look in the mirror.
But bro, like ever since you've started this, like just taking a snapshot in the last 12 months, this is based on realestate.com.au, you've sold 53 properties as a lead agent, I think with an average value of about $735K from memory. And you're also the agent with the most 5-star ratings in Petrie. So just going off those stats alone, like in your opinion, what separates a successful agent like yourself from unsuccessful agents or people who are just stuck in that 5 to 10 properties a year just getting by but not really growing category?
I think success is like differs from person to person, right? Like you're gonna get someone that looks at their first 10 sales as, hey, this is a real success and all that sort of stuff, and you're gonna get someone who sells 300 as like, hey, the only way to be successful is if you sell 300 properties, right? To me, what the real success is about being who you authentic, like true to yourself, and like going through the storm, I have a lot more people that don't like me than do,
Yeah.
right? But I like that.
Yeah.
Like I kind of thrive off that, but I just refuse to not be who I am. So like to me, the success comes from just being who I am. And if you don't like it, I don't really give a fuck.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like that's what I look at it as. I've never really looked too much into the monetary side of things as success.
But still, though, they're like a testament to just like at the end of the day, it just shows that your skills match your numbers.
Yeah.
So, what do you think like actually helps you get to the numbers that you're doing right now?
Oh, sorry, I misunderstood your question.
No, no. The way you answered is also correct. Like success looks different.
What helps me get to the numbers? So originally, it was always nobody knows who Black is. Our mission was to make sure people knew, right? Tom and Murray were hitting the phones, right? And I would call as well, but they like were doing good numbers.
Like
so it's less relevant to me.
What were their numbers like?
They would have been making 150 calls a day.
Yeah.
When we first started, like each. So they were making the calls that needed to be made, getting me in the doors. It was then for me having enough skill to convince these people that my business is worth listening to and my services are worth using. Brand new business, relatively brand new area. Like it was, I think the belief that we're better than what your current options are and being able to show people, which all came from the practice and learning that I'd done for how to do a good listing presentation, how to show the value in my marketing and the skills and all that kind of stuff was a big thing, but then back it up.
Back it up with actual work.
Because real estate agents are talk. At the time, no one around here in the suburb was taking more than one person to an open home. We'd have all three of us there. Right. Like Tom and I going to appointments together, Murray and I going to appointments together. We would just bounce off each other. And we weren't the most professional looking or acting real estate agents that people would meet, but we were the ones that people liked the most. They got along with us. They enjoyed our time with them. And they're like, well, if we can get along with you this well, this quickly, then the buyers will as well. And that's what we showed people. We were like, hey, you don't have to be this dude in a suit. Like, you don't have to be this guy who has been in real estate 30 years that is super outdated. Like, you just got to be someone that cares about getting a good result and doesn't just want to treat buyers like shit.
Yeah.
So we just got really good at showing sellers that.
Yeah. How did you do that? Because I know a lot of the time, just general population, like we like to do stuff that is safe, and guys that have been in the market for a long time seem safe. So therefore, I will just list with that guy. So whenever you're going out on your own, you're already climbing an it's an uphill battle. So you kind of it's on you to now show people that not only are you good just by being, independent, you're actually better than there are other options out there. So what exactly did you do to get people to choose you over everyone else?
Energy, passion. I think I was really lucky that it was actually my business. So I was telling people like, hey, I need to make this work. Like this isn't, I want to do this. Like I'm putting everything into this. So by trying to get you a result, each time I'm proving that I can, and I'm showing people that this business is worth talking to. We're worth listing with. We're worth selling your house with. Right. So just being able to show people that, like, this is my business. I'm putting myself on the line. I'm not just here for fun. I'm going to be trying to get you a result because I want a 5-star review from you because I currently have 0, right? You may be my first or, my 7th or my 10th, but that's going to help my business a lot. So helping people understand, like, you're not just going to be a number. At the moment, you're going to be the only one. I was lucky. I had a lot of support from family and friends as well, right? They were saying, hey, my mum needs to sell, my brother, my cousin. Like I was super lucky because not everybody gets that. But around here, it was, I want to be in Petrie forever. Like, this is it for me.
Yeah, that's interesting though, because a lot of people like idealize like the multi-million-dollar acreage sort of suburbs as like they want that to be their core farm areas. But how'd you choose Petrie, just out of curiosity?
Same way I choose everything else. It just happened.
Went for it.
Like I sold a friend's house in Petrie. And then I told you Tom made those calls.
Yep.
This is where his listing was. And so we had 2 sales to work off. And we were like, this is it.
This is good.
Let's
yeah.
go.
We're already
got some,
here.
got some data, started calling it.
Yeah. And it sort of developed into this.
Yeah.
Which brings me to probably the most interesting thing about your brand, which is how, like you said, how carefree you are, how authentic you are. And these are best showcased through your videos. They're entertaining, they're hilarious, like everyone loves them, they get the views. How did that happen? Because I think your first post came out like the October 2022, I think was like the first kind of crazy video that you guys put out there, which is, for those of you who don't know, I urge you to check it out because it is nothing like the typical guy in a suit in front of a house in slow motion, speed ramp shots.
Getting out
of
of a
videos.
Rolls Royce. Like.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. No rental Lambos, none of that stuff. It's quite the opposite. It's not even chill. It goes to like the crazy extreme levels.
Yeah.
So how did that happen?
So the funny thing was we started working pretty closely with Dan Lee from Plum Property, who so he started a thing, it's called Plum Partners, so we started working with him and he said, hey, your personality would be real good on videos. Let's do a profile video, like in a sort of silly thing. And as all that was happening, I just signed a house up. I'm like, let's do a video on it. Let's just see what a stupid video could be. But I wanted to show and I paid for that one because I had no result. I didn't know what it was going to be like. I didn't even know what we were going to do.
Right.
So I'm very big on, I wouldn't put my seller's money where I wouldn't put my own. So I was like, all right, I'll just pay for it and we'll just see what happens. And it worked out quite funny. And I was like, this is fun. So then we could just continue to just put my personality out there. Because like in the videos, like that's not me. Yeah. It comes back to that authenticity thing I was talking about.
That is very much you.
100%.
Like, you're not faking it.
I'm just a dickhead, right? Like at the end of the day, I'm just a clown. So I'm just lucky that I got a bit of knowledge about real estate as well. But I've got no issues showing people the real me. Yeah. I don't try and hide that from the world. I used to think, oh no one wants that. But that's exactly what people want. Yeah. Not everybody, of course, as I said before, but to me, that's what the people that like me, that's what they're going to want. And I know this is controversial, but I look at it as the sort of Donald Trump effect, right? Like his people will die for him, and the people that hate him despise him, right? And there's no middle. Yeah. Like you don't want to be the guy in the middle, everything to everyone. Yeah. And it's a very hard decision to make. Yeah. Because you're gonna have people that just don't like you. Yeah, which is why, like, I was gonna ask you. So, since like you basically didn't give a shit. You're like, I'm just gonna go send it and see what will happen. Yeah. There is a lot of people. I'm telling you right now. I think I've seen more positive and funnier comments on your videos than any other agent out there. And I've also seen you get some pretty funny hate as well. So much hate. And it's always like, it's pretty funny hate because it's just someone who hates the way you present it. And it's someone who like just has a very like narrow mindset of this is what a real estate video should be. Like I saw one which is just like, which was one was saying like unprofessional, like this is not how it should be. And someone put like the 2 @ signs and you went at them for that. So a lot of people, every time, I know people that get a negative comment and they freak out. They see it as like an attack on them. They're like, oh, now everyone hates me sort of thing. Granted, you do have like, for every 2 or 3 negative comments, you have like 35 good comments. So it helps you balance it out. But regardless, how do you deal with the hate? Like, how do you see that? Because it's pretty funny, because you don't delete it, you don't ignore it, you egg them on more. 100%. Which is pretty funny. Like, people are like, you should hide it, you should delete it. Like, no, I'm going to have fun with it, right? Because at the end of the day, what I know is like what this person's just said, they put so much thought and anger into, and like I just give a response. I try to be relatively professional-ish when I respond and explain it, but I know that 100 times out of 100, they don't give a fuck what I say back.
Yeah.
They just want to be angry. So then I just keep going, right? And I'm just like, hey, I can appreciate that, but this is why we do it, and I don't, quite frankly, I don't care, right? Because what I understand is, more often than not every time, but more often than not, these people are just angry on Facebook. They're not active buyers. They're not anything like that. Like I say, more often than not, I'm sure sometimes there's a couple that get missed out. But to me, someone that wants to be so stubborn and dig their heels in anyway, they're probably just not the right client.
Yeah.
And then, you'll get other agents use things like this against me, and they're like, oh, what if they're your best buyer? They're probably not.
Yeah.
Right? They might be.
What are the chances?
But they're probably not. And the simple fact is, that best buyer, without me, wouldn't have seen it anyway, because they're not on realestate.com, they're on Facebook.
Yeah.
So that buyer wouldn't have seen it anyway.
Yeah.
Without my engagement, without all that stuff, they wouldn't have seen it anyway. So
And that brings me back. So when you like put the first video out, did you suddenly notice like a huge change in engagement?
Yes. Engagement in the videos, uptake from people being like, this is it. Like, you found your thing. It was big. Like, there was a lot of support for it.
Yeah.
I was nervous to put it out, so I wasn't sure how it would be received, but I quickly didn't care.
Yeah. And as soon as it was out,
It just went well.
Yeah.
It went really well. The
Right.
sellers loved it. Their kids loved it. The neighbors loved it. People were talking to me about it. Right. So,
about the videos.
yeah.
Yeah,
So it's
sick.
nuts.
And I think just to set the record straight for your haters, one of the biggest things that I saw is, why don't you show the price in the video? Why don't you show the price? So just for everyone out there who's wondering why you don't put the price out there, why you want people to inquire, why don't you, Ant, put the price in the videos?
Engagement. That's it. When people comment and ask for a price, I get more engagement. My sellers hire me to get more eyes on their property. That's my job.
Right.
Right? It's not to cater to whingers that want to whinge about the fact that there's no price.
Yeah.
Because they always feel like they're the majority, because everyone loves a pity party, and one of them starts whinging, and then another one starts whinging with him or her, and then there's 15 comments from them. But what they don't realize is there's 60 other comments of people just asking for a price and getting it.
Yeah.
And that's what my sellers want to pay me for.
Right.
That's why they want me to market their property.
And it's not like, obviously some there'll be like expressions of interest and stuff, or you're not ready to put that price out there. But then most of the times, if you're doing a video for them, like as all you do is you inquire and you just send the price straight away.
We give what we can. There's legalities in Queensland around giving a price. So we do give what we can, but when we're marketing a property without a price, I can't just come back to you and say, hey, this one's 700.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we give what we can. But the simple fact is, if I just put a price on it, what happens? People like it and they scroll past. Maybe they comment, good. I get 3 likes and 1 comment. On most of my videos, I get around about 100 to 300 comments.
Right.
I mean, 300's an exception.
And
but
is that all organic, or are you like pumping the video out there as well?
There's spend behind it. Yeah. There's definitely spend behind it.
Yeah, but then like...
But the more engagement I can create in that video, the lower the cost per click.
Yeah,
The
100%.
more value the seller gets every single time.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's all I care about.
Sweet.
How much more value can my seller get out of
Yeah,
it?
because I can see that the way it's like decreasing like cost per click and cost per view is insane, and like the amount of engagement that you're getting is also fantastic. What do you say to those guys, especially you probably thought this at one point, it's that if I have to put myself out there, it's like this very rigid, like the suit and rented Lambo in front of $1 million property vibe, and like that's all that works. You've now, by putting out these videos, have had this like eye-opening moment, like, oh, actually I can be a dickhead on camera and people like it as long as I'm being authentic at myself.
Yeah.
So what do you got to tell people who are still in that old Ant mindset of like, I still need to do the old-fashioned stuff?
You got to be who you are. Like, a different thing is going to work for different people, right? Like, my style won't work for everyone, but if you just are the same as everyone else, you blend in.
Yeah.
So if you see, people see like Gavin Rubinstein getting out of Bentleys to $20 million properties, and they think that's what I need to do to my $700,000 property. Who cares? Like, all that I look at when I see that, I'm like, who paid for the car?
Yeah.
Because I'm not buying the car. Who's rented the car? Where's the benefit to the sellers? Because when we market, we look at what's the benefit to the sellers, right? Me having a Bentley or a Rolls Royce in the video, I personally don't see the value in that, right? And I'm not saying there is no value in it, because it works for a lot of people. And it used to work for... Emil used to do, like crazy nice cars and all this crazy.
Yeah.
And he'd get
He
like
loves his nice
500
cars, yeah.
comments, but he started that. That was his thing.
Yeah.
So now I'm just like, what are people going to see when they see you? How do they get you from your videos, I think is the most important thing.
Awesome, man. And we have a recurring section on the podcast, so we're nearing the end. So this is the perfect time to do it, I reckon, which is a review deep dive. So we went through the reviews that you got, which you've got plenty.
Yeah.
And I found one that I thought was really interesting and I think people could learn a lot from, which is a seller of a house in Petrie about 5 months ago. And they said, we listed Anthony to sell our newly renovated property in Petrie. We launched the market on the 19th of June, unsure how it would go. We couldn't sign a contract until 1st of July. Sure enough, we had a great buyer and contract signed on 1st of July. Impressed is an understatement. No doubt we will use Anthony and team again in the future. Thanks, team. Love your work. So pretty flattering review. But what I want to ask is, how do you deliver a customer service where your clients are beyond impressed?
Don't overpromise. I try my best to let people know that, like, I'm not usually the highest appraisal. It's process focused, and I will do everything to deliver the best result. And I just genuinely try to do that, right? I communicate well. I try to keep people up to date. And I just put effort in, right? But I don't sit there and tell them I'm going to be Superman, right? I tell them I've got help of a great team, and we're all going to be working on your property. Like, it's not just me. I'm not an octopus, right? Like, I don't have all these different arms, but we've got a good team. We've got great processes. We will put 100% of our effort in to making sure you're happy. And it's not just, it's pushing for more when you can, right? Once you're done with price and you sort of walk away price, what can you do with terms and things like that to make sure that your seller walks away with the best deal? I think that's what it all comes down to, is who's your focus.
Yep. Awesome. And now that we've sort of, got to the last leg of the podcast, just as a little reward for the guys that have stuck along and like listened to your story and watched this, there's two categories right now that I think you can really speak to, which is agents that are just starting off and agents who have now started off on their own. So we'll go to back in 2015, Ant, when you were first starting. So the guys that are watching this who's just starting up, looking for inspiration and is looking up to you as one of their sources of inspiration, what are some things that you tell them for them to just like put their blinders on and be like, yeah, focus on this. This will help you.
Yeah. Don't change areas. I changed areas like 5 times. I always say to my boys, I'm like, pick an area, stay there, because you'll do a lot better a lot quickly. We've only been in Petrie for 3 years now.
Does it matter where you pick?
Not to me. To some people it would, especially new guys in the industry. It's all I ever hear. It's like, I want to start here and eventually work my way into the city. It's all I ever hear. I'm like, who cares? Like, to me, I don't care.
Yeah, you're making enough money here.
Whatever, right? Like, do where you're happy. Do where you like. Some people don't like to live and work in the same area, but just pick an area and stay there. Do the numbers on it. Make sure it works and stay there. Work hard. You're going to have to work harder in your first 2 years, but if you work hard in your first 2 years, then your next 2 years are probably going to get a lot easier, and so on and so forth. But if you do that in as much in one area as you can, it's going to be a lot easier. And don't give up too soon. If you can, right? If you can afford to be in real estate, because it's a great career. But too many people give up too soon.
Yeah. Awesome. And now what about the guys who are starting out? They've done the gigs at other agencies, but now they feel like now it's the right time to go out on your own. What do you got to tell them?
To go out on their own as an agent or
As a business, they're going out on their own.
Don't spend your money on fancy shit and cars. Spend it on marketing your business.
And videos?
Do them. If you're comfortable doing them, do them. If you're not comfortable doing them, get comfortable doing them, in my opinion. Show your personality. Show people your personality. They'll know who they're getting before they meet you. And just don't waste your money on things that you think you need to fit in with real estate agents.
Yeah.
It's going to be controversial, but I couldn't want to fit in with real estate agents less.
Right.
You know.
I can see that from your brand. Like you have a very non-real estate-y real estate brand.
Yeah. Like we don't need to look or act a certain way to be in the industry.
Yeah.
Right.
Just gotta do the work.
It's controversial, but I just don't care.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why I started my business. So I didn't have to work with that many real estate agents. You don't have to be one to be in real estate.
Mm-hmm. So don't, spend on unnecessary bullshit. Spend on your marketing. Don't try and get stuff that is just to show off to other people. That's
Invest
the main
in yourself and your business.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Right.
In a team.
Yeah.
That's it. That's what I think.
Awesome. Well, Ant, what is, we've sort of covered your journey till here, all the way from England to your, coming here, doing high school here, doing your sales jobs that you had, and the random jobs that you picked up, your journey through all the real estate agencies, your journey through addiction, quitting, finding this hyper productive but happy and fun version of you that I can see.
Yeah.
What's next? What's on the cards?
For the business growth, I want to bring in a lot more new agents to the business. Now that my associates have all graduated, I'm going to be looking for new associates. I want to take those agents that are stuck at 5 and 10 deals and show them. Because once you can list and sell a property, 15 and 20 isn't that hard. It's just more calls and more work, but show them the structure. I don't think I know everything, and I tell my guys all the time, like, I don't know everything, but I try my best to get people in that do, or talk with people that do. So more growth, which helps us put that type of stuff in place with people. So, but I want to bring better people through the industry, and not just like the wanky bullshit like that everyone says. Like genuinely want to put better people through the industry.
Yeah, awesome. And just as a final little selfish question from ourselves for doing this, there's adjacent businesses such as us, like digital agencies, marketing agencies, videography guys, photography guys. What is something that people like us can do to help people like you, high performers like you, get to your goals? So what is some, because I know a lot of people, like the last thing we want to do is become the group of people that just think this is the thing that everyone wants and then try to push us out on people. I'll rather just go straight to the source and be like, how can people like us help real estate professionals like you succeed?
Help people understand that your job isn't to deliver 10 new listings a month. Help people understand that your job is to deliver their personality out to people for a long period of time, so that when they are thinking of selling, you're the person that's been in front of them for a year or two. And help people understand patience with marketing. Like, so many agents want to drop a flyer and get a listing. So many agents want to put a Facebook post up and get a listing. It's consistency over time.
Yeah. So
help them understand that. I think, and how you do that, I don't know. But if you could help people understand that, I think your business becomes a lot more long-term. Because what I know from lead agencies, or, I'm not saying that's what you are, but marketing agencies, they'll message you and they'll say, I promise you 5 new listings a month. How? If you could get 5 new listings a month, you'd be a real estate agent because you'd be making a lot of money doing that. So if you could do that, then you would be. But if you could say, I can give you, exposure in your marketplace that you want. I can help you give your personality to the whole marketplace that you want. That's the type of stuff that you should be selling over time. If I was you, I'd probably be trying to sign people up to a 12-month commitment or a 6-month commitment before they make a decision rather than 1 month.
Yeah.
Because real estate agents want now.
Yeah.
And like they want a silver bullet.
Yeah.
You just got to help them understand consistency over time.
Awesome. Well, Ant, thank you so much for chatting to me today. I genuinely, like, I'm not just, not just jacking you off here, man. Legitimately, your brand is one of the best real estate brands that I've seen. And I was just speaking to Jesse behind the camera about this as well. Like, your content is fantastic. The way you approach the industry and your service, and the way you approach the relationship with your sellers is just really fucking fresh, bro. And I think this is just the beginning for what you guys have in store. And I, just like the rest of your audience, is very keen to see your growth. So thank you so much for talking to me today, man.
Thank you.
And I'll see you guys in the next episode, which I promise will be a lot more frequent than last year. All right, peace.